And so when we have windy conditions like this, it influences the kind of decision that teams, defense rather, that teams are going to be playing. It looks like we're going to see MVP come down in a match defense, just matching person against person, trying to shut down those individual potential rivalries as they unfold, looking to have one person shut down one other person as opposed to marking space, but a poach leads to a block. MVP to take possession again.
Packer with just reading the space beautifully there with that poach D, and again with the disc here,
Nice.
really initiating that
go movement.
Exactly, give and go movement that we would expect.
Swings, trying to bring the disc near the sideline. The marks, a lot of pressure. Gangrene shift running a very clear zone, looking one person on the mark and 4 people in the wall.
And Bogacki with a touch on the disc there, stolen down by Michaela.
Long shot by MVP for a beautiful first early score of the game.
And hold away with the disc in her hand, scoring that first point. MVP on the board.
The score going now 1-0 to MVP, only a couple of minutes into the game. A very interesting, a unique zone look that we're seeing from Gangrene. As previously we've typically seen 3, potentially 4 people trying to arrange a curved wall around the handler, the person with the disc, trying to direct them to one side or another. In this instance, we had one player just chasing the disc, and then a wall of 4 players behind them, just creating a huge, just a big obstruction to prevent any downfield momentum. And when we saw that shot go up, the wall did manage to get a bite out of it. Unfortunately, for Gangrene, those MVP receivers were able to quickly reposition and recover possession.
There is a strong wind right now, as you may have noticed. We mentioned in the very beginning, but just for reference, it is blowing from a crosswind, from the close side of your screen away. So the downwind side is the farthest side that you'll see the Gangrene players. The little gazebo tent set up, the greatest signs. The wind is blowing from the high side to the low side down there.
Toby Sutherland with a roller pull. We've seen those roller pulls used to great effect, and particularly in these conditions. Once the disc contacts the field, the wind is able to push it pretty much wherever it wants, which forces the offensive team to be a little bit out of position as they have to react to where that disc is going in order to stop its movement and initiate their offense. And that gives the defense a lot of opportunity to really get into position and establish the zones that we're seeing in these windy conditions.
We're seeing Pooley with the disc on the downwind side, passing to Lynch.
MVP sitting down a 4-person cup, trying to isolate that one player. As soon as the disc moves past them, the zone's out of position. They're hustling to get back in. A high-angle forehand.
O'Connor hanging out deep, waiting for that shot. Couldn't quite scoop it up.
Just outside of reach as she takes a knee to try and even up the scoreboards. MVP to come out on offense again. Toby Sutherland, he's going to take the disc in from the far corner right at the front of his end zone.
With Aspinwall as the support dump right there. Looks like they're starting in a vertical stack to match that person defense that Gangrene is playing. Van Bakel.
Big fake to a huge hug.
We've got Siohani Royale reading it very well. Under pressure.
O'Connor looking to shut that down. A
great around throw. That was a beautiful low release backhand. A little bit of a celebration over there, hat on the ground. She's feeling happy and relieved to have executed such a great throw to the teammate like that. Now that's really exciting. You know, as MVP, minimum viable product, you know, no training, that they've scored 2 points right now. And it seems like they're finding their rhythm quite well.
The only peril with a team like MVP making the finals is that we have youth players watching what happens when you don't train, is what impact that might have on the next generation. Now, it's important to recognize for those watching at home, MVP have done a lot of training, just not as a team. They've banked years and years of experience on the field. Looks like a timeout has been called early. Now, we've seen this happen through quite a few games. One team gets a couple of early points, the scoreline swings heavily in one direction, and so a team calls a timeout to just make sure that they've reset mentally, that they know what is and what isn't working and what they can tighten up, what they can fine-tune over the next couple of points to keep this as even a game as possible.
We're hearing a lot of noise and energy from the MVP circle there, from the timeout. They're really celebrating those points, they're celebrating their connections, and they are on a bit of a roll. Now, a timeout like this defensively can interrupt that. You know, it can put a halt. If you have too much time sitting there, too much time not playing, too much time away, even a few minutes away can really disrupt an offensive flow. Defensively, it can also help your team reset, refocus on the tasks at hand, what you need to fix, and how to get the points. So Gangrene throwing out a strong offensive line here.
MVP, minimum viable product, also most vocal players, huge amount of energy as they break the huddle to come out on defense again. This is the beginning of the third point. All players clearing the field except for the 7 on each line.
Packer with the disc, going to put up the huck, the pull, rather.
So this, in these conditions that Wellington players are typically used to, Gangrene have a lot of experience playing in the wind. Though, to be fair, based on the weather in Christchurch last week, Christchurch players have a lot of experience in those kind of conditions as well.
Across New Zealand, I must say, the weather isn't kind. Players do have to get used to it. To anyone watching overseas, definitely creates conditions where players need to navigate, need to learn and adapt to rain, wind, both. In fact, there's a team that we'll be seeing later on, Huripari, that hails from Wellington, actually named after a dog, but hurricane is a common sports team name in Wellington due to, again, the wild conditions.
So Gangrene, off the pull going out of bounds, they will brick it, take it from the center field, gives them a little bit more space to work with up the left and right sides of the field from the player's perspective. A beautiful one-handed grab by O'Connor.
Great slashing cut there, creating space, moving the defense.
Brendan Smith, O'Connor again, just working that far sideline. Bit of miscommunication, but it tipples in the wind.
Horan manages to hold on to that gusty throw. Looking around, looks like the mark is stopping the arounds there, so he manages to find downfield in Lucretia Ashford.
Carter Squires goes back to Horan. He's within the red zone. There's that little bit of aggression.
And Packard there to numb up that high throw, patrolling the skies in the downfield.
It is something that we see quite often, particularly with younger players. They get close to the end zone and they start to go a little bit tunnel vision-y. Miscommunication there, kept alive by the MVP receivers.
Hold away, holding on to that.
Again, we might see that MVP, that depth of experience that they're playing from, as they approach their zone, as they come closer and closer to scoring those points, as long as they don't lose focus and they don't lose sight.
Beautiful field vision there. Finding that spot downfield, not quite sure what happened offensively there. It's like a bit of miscommunication, a bit of a bobble, maybe an injury.
An injury's definitely been called. But it was a wonderful reception just outside the zone and looked like a run-through attempted a continuation.
This point in the day, I'm thinking also that the injury could just be a cramp. Hopefully not anything too much more intense than that. Pulley with the disc. Oh, slicing through and an impressive layout D from Weimer. Horan picking up, and this is a bit of an intimidating area again as a handler, downwind in the corner on your end zone. So it can be compelling in situations like these just to launch the disc downfield, create some space. We're seeing a cut, an option for that. He's faked it off, so it won't be coming. Nice dishy pop pass.
Brendan Smith starts to work the disc. Annalise Pooley to Foster on our near sideline. Drops back to Horan, a big rip, getting a bite out of the defense.
Pulley going for the hug to a wide open Lucretia Ashford, coming down with it.
Carter Squires.
Was that 25? 42, yes, my bad. Thank you for that correction.
Wonderful score by the Gangrene again, seeing how that unfolded. A deep cut, just streaking into an open space on the field, completely uncovered by the MVP defense. And with Gangrene, those Wellington throwers, the ability to put the disc long in almost any conditions, just capitalizing on that open receiver for a comfortable score, bringing it to 2-1, still in favor of MVP, but only a 1-point game.
Awesome to see Pulley just ripping that disc. You know, Wind is completely out of mind with the power she put on that, as well as the placement, making an easy catch for that downfield receiver. Impressive plays on both ends.
MVP, one of a couple of teams with a comparatively small roster, so conserving bodies and minimizing injury is a priority, particularly when these players, I wouldn't go so far as to say old, but certainly more mature than some of our younger teams, becomes an important factor in the way that they put themselves out there on this field.
We've got some laughter on the field. It sounds like MVP is definitely playing with a bit of joy, a bit of bants. That's a wild backhand Sutherland puts up to a great receiver. That's trust on the field right there.
Eric Aspinwall.
It looked like Van Bakel got the point there. Yeah, Aspinwall with the assist. All right.
So again, Sutherland with a nice inside backhand, just way out in front of wherever the defender was, gaining huge distance up the field.
And it's surprising to see inside-out backhands like that, especially with a mark that is forcing backhand in the opposite direction. You know, normally you would be breaking that mark with a forehand, with Sutherland as a right-handed player. So it's wild to see it really getting creative with his throws there. You know, breaking the mark with a backhand on the opposite side with that massive inside out. Really great to see those creative throws, a little bit of sauce thrown on them, you know.
It just speaks to the kind of confidence that you have, that you can only have through years of experience, to back yourself and know that you can make those throws coming through.
Also surprising, I would not expect coming into this game fresh, not knowing anything about the team, with a throw like that, a receiver like that, and those connections that were made, that you know, there have been no trainings. Speaks to the experience.
MVP coming down on defense now. Stephanie Lynch marked out in the cup, having to work the far sideline to Hearn.
So this four-person cup here is putting a lot of pressure on the thrower. Really opening up again opportunities downfield, but making those first few passes, getting the momentum, making that as challenging as possible. We see Masters coming through, going for the pop pass.
Good fakes to just shift those looser players, the ones not necessarily as involved in the cup, trying to occupy space and just using the disc, using the fakes to just pull them out of position and really open up a lot of space for the Gangrene to use those throws that we know they've got.
Great option. Bogacki was definitely open there. Unfortunately, the disc hit the ground too soon.
It's a bit of a speculator. No contact, just Sam Masters going up, using that height, just securing the turn.
Setting the four-person cup again. We see MVP again putting that pressure on Masters with the disc one more time. Threading through the cup there into the hands of Lynch.
Another low pass that we're seeing from Gangrene. It's two consecutive turns from just attempting to get those low shots off under the mark. A huck from MVP. Packer sends it. Too much fade.
Van Bakel on going deep, looking for that. Bit too spicy.
And again, the perils of having those long shots marked by deep defenders is that the deep defenders can use their positioning to influence where the receiver thinks the disc is going to go. A big rip of a backhand.
We have the bomb squad out, and it's out of bounds. Masters really looking at spreading the field there, really looking at opening up options, trying, honestly, one of the first few hucks we've seen in a zone like that. Really living on a prayer, going on faith. Fortunately, it didn't work out.
Both teams really trying to play a territorial game, just recognizing that the wind has an impact. Just make the field as long for your opponents as possible, tire them out, make them lose heart a little bit, and then keep your mental focus and use that and convert that into a score. So MVP working the disc backwards and forwards.
Wow. And Packard gracefully moving the disc around there, seeing Sione Royal as an open option and just not quite hitting her. Once again, same problem that Gangrene is facing, seeing that open option, looking to hit it, and that's what the zone is forcing. It's forcing the errors with the longer throws.
A nice way to break that defense. Finds Masters. Swanson with a long shot.
And it's a soccer goal, not quite the same as a Frisbee goal.
So MVP once again to take possession. It's only a 2-point game so far. We're a few minutes in now. MVP with 2 immediate breaks off the bat. And then both teams just trading from there.
We've got Van Bakel and Holdaway, accompanied by Aspinwall as well, deep, really trying to spread the field here and provide options to the handlers if they do want to huck it again. In Packard's case, he definitely has the artillery to do that. Unfortunately, Mickey can't keep her hands on the disc there. It's a turnover.
Dignam unable to find right position, getting a slightly confusing read as the wind impacts the disc. We're going to see Masters pick up in the Gangrene red zone, wanting to close this point out. Beautiful break to Swanson, sorry. A beautiful score. Just excellent textbook execution. Just finding a mark out of position, trusting yourself, backing that throw, knowing that you've got a receiver targeting that side that's most vulnerable based on having your mark out of position.
And then the throws too, slicing through the winds there to hit right in the breadbasket. Again, no better place to receive the disc as a receiver. So with that point, Gangrene is on the board. That's the second point on the board. And exciting, bringing the score back up. And we're in an exciting place.
So MVP's early break and second conversion not sufficient to lock this game up just yet. A race to 15. And that is not going to stop Gangrene from putting their best foot forward, coming back with 2 of their own.
Masters, who just assisted the last point, is the disc in hand, ready to pull.
The readiness signal given by Gangrene, answered by MVP. A lovely pull, not too high, a lot of float, good distance to be fielded by Sutherland. Immediately centered to Aspinwall.
Great break. And here again, we're seeing a 4-person cup, or a chase, I think a chase on a wall. There's an over-the-top pass, and that's what both teams have been trying to put up, successfully caught there. Nice floaty, open receiver. Sutherland taking his time to see it into his hands.
Not too much pressure from the Gangrene, allowing the disc to go backwards. Dignam takes it, swings to the near sideline for Fraser.
Keep it up the side, eh?
That same tactic that we keep seeing, just pressuring, trying to pressure the zone, trying to tie them out, find them out of position.
And Dignam couldn't quite keep it in her hands there. Another massive bomb from Masters.
Foster's got a read. Comfortable. Under double coverage, Sutherland maybe gives it up.
And
Lets his teammate try and go for the D. It's not enough.
As a deep threat, Fraser is really one to contend with. She has great deep looks, great hops, and is really safe in the air. So, regardless of gender, regardless of the throw, she's definitely a threat in that space. So impressive for Foster for definitely safely seeing it into his hands and holding on to it despite being under pressure there. We're really seeing Masters throwing some big throws, spreading the field.
Gangrene to take their third point of the game, tying up the scoreline. MVP need an answer. And their early momentum seems to have swung the other way. Gangrene really using this. A timeout has been called.
In the beginning, I think MVP has really been capitalizing on the zone with their quick passes. I know Packard is especially known for his fast play, and a lot of other players on this team are really on the same page. Dignam also really, really familiar. She's an expert at the give and goes. So I think in the beginning we saw some really pretty points with those give and goes. The teammates really playing off each other and playing off each other's strengths. We've seen the Gangrene zone, interestingly, while it broke down in the beginning, is now maybe they switched it with the wall, but it's really causing MVP to generate those turnovers. It looks like more with the farther shots finding the open players instead of working the quick give goes as they were before.
So Gangrene looking for an opportunity to come out now with a defensive break. Are we going to see that zone again? Will they switch it up to man defense? Are they anticipating MVP changing things up, recognizing that they need a quick boost of momentum to get the game back in their favor after their impressive start? So MVP first to break the huddle, signifying that it will be a 4-lady, 3-men point. 7 take the field. Gangrene still in the huddle, just making sure their focus is where they want it to be.
So I'm curious to see I'm curious what was discussed in that huddle for MVP. Were they talking about returning to a similar play style, drawing back to the basics and what they're really good at, or are they talking about, what is the focus there? Not so sure about it. Gangrene, on the other hand, potentially discussing the zone and how to tighten in, how to lock down on their advantage right now on the points they've been scoring. Are in a good position right now with momentum on their side.
So Bogacki with the disc to come out on defense for Gangrene. Some last-minute strategic discussions. We can see some arm movements indicating width. Are they talking about the width of the zone? Are they talking about the structure of the mark on the disc? Only time will tell as Gangrene look to come out hoping for a defensive break, looking to swing the score in their favor. MVP looking for an offensive hold, hoping to do the same.
We've got Stephanie Lynch just ran over to the other sideline. Great to see that Gangrene is stretching both sides of the field to provide support, feedback, talking to their team from every angle where they might need it and where it could be beneficial for them to hear. Now, again, I've mentioned this a few times, but it's especially beneficial in zone when you're playing zone defense to have someone in your ear telling you where the threats are, where the players are, or to keep the pressure on there, which generated that turn. Holdaway couldn't quite jump back quick enough to get a hand on that disc.
Bogacki with a high release backhand. Once again, Carter Squires finding perfect position, just being that deep threat, occupying that space, maybe being unassuming, maybe letting her mark think, I don't need to worry about her, and then absolutely punishing that split second of inattention, getting that position and scoring exactly as Gangrene needed to. Now, you were saying that zone poured on a huge amount of pressure, and that is what generated that turn. We could see on the near sideline as the chasers were hounding down that disc, and just you could see the MVP throwing window shrinking and shrinking until they got too close, and the Gangrene trap slammed shut.
Trap slammed shut. That's a good way of putting it. Now, she's really been dominating that space. I'm excited to see how she's been finding that open spot. As you were saying, is she luring the defense away from her, not seeming to be a threat, or is she? I'm not sure. She's really good at finding the exact spot where she needs to be open, and her teammates also finding her and throwing her the throws to score in these points.
It is, as we've said multiple times today, the New Zealand Mixed Ultimate Championships. One of the few sports where men and women take the field together and compete as equals. And particularly as we've seen 2 scores on the Gangrene side by Carter Squires, just being unassuming, being in the background, but recognizing her own worth and taking her place on the field. It's really, really wonderful to see, and MVP do need to have an answer to that. They cannot keep conceding points to a consistent receiver who's finding space.
She is dominating those points. She's dominating that deep space at the moment. And to add to that, it's really uplifting to hear, talking with Reese Hearn, captain of Gangrene, coaching the team. His goal for this game was to continue to stand on the gender equity page with his team, to be pushing that, and that's been a focus of their team. So it's great to see them really, really following through with that. Yeah, seeing all the players and really focusing on including everyone in the team.
Sutherland has the disc. There's been a lot of disc work at the left-hand side of the field as that Gangrene zone really are just shutting down. See, Honey Royal wants the big, has to holster it back. Sutherland goes over the top,
And
finds turf and finds cleat.
Finds cleat. We'll see if the disc is okay. Quick check. And this is an issue that we've seen before with the turnovers, is that the pops over the top have been resulting in turnovers, and that's what zones do. They leave the open players downfield. Ideally, they're covered, but with quick movement, you can get open more easily downfield. And MVP has been turning it over when making those looks more often than not.
O'Connor with a nice forehand huck, a little bit too much fade. A violation's been called. Looks like movement, maybe initiation of the play happened before the disc had been checked in after that turnover.
I think so.
So as the disc hit ground, when the disc was substituted, it should have been checked in, and it looks like Gangrene just picked up the disc and initiated. So not following protocol means the disc has to return. They do have another attempt at that, this time targeting the near sideline. Ben Swanson. Stephanie Lynch.
Got a lot of great looks downfield. Lynch commanding the offense there. Beautifully cleaned up by Cardi Squires, is that right? 22.
Absolutely. Christy Carter Squires this time with the score.
There was a lot of great options. While Cardi Squires cleans that up and made that great look to score the points, there were so many great options that were happening beforehand too. And that's really of note, while Cardi Squires caught the point, Lynch threw a great pass to score that as well for the assist. What is indicative of the point happening is not just that happening, but before that, there were so many options happening downfield. And then after that, those players were clearing right out again. And when those options are being taken, one of them is going to result in a point or a close one. So everyone is providing options on the team. They're seeing the space and they're making looks happen.
Gangrene taking the game to 5-3, reversing the initial 2-point lead held by MVP. 3 points away from taking half. A very, very impressive turnaround. These two teams evenly matched, making the best of these conditions.
And making for an exciting game to watch, that's for sure.
So Gangrene to come back down on defense.
Hands up on the line, indicating MVP is ready to receive the disc.
High with a lot of fade, looks to be coming out the near sideline.
And this is actually beneficial for MVP in that they're on the high side of the field. So they have the entire field to work with, and if they are throwing to the opposite side, it is downwind.
So we won't see them brick. Toby Sutherland to take the disc in from the near sideline. Gangrene establishing a nice, similar defensive zone. Really shutting options. The stall count goes high. It's a high release backhand.
With massive D there.
And that's exactly what a zone is looking to do. It's looking to frustrate and just put hesitation in the minds of the thrower. Let that stall count get a bit higher. Put the pressure on through time and force an error that they can capitalize on. Gangrene to send one big.
Launching it, and Tobin goes for the D there. Looks like there was some contact that was made.
A call definitely made there. Looks like Swanson sitting on the ground.
And that's interesting on offense. Just before that turnover happened, once again, MVP has been really struggling with these over-the-top throws. The wind definitely has something to do with it. The defense, especially when they're pinching on there. But I'm curious to see when they're going to touch, bring back that give and go that was bringing them through those first few points, was working really working so well in their favor, if that is something that they want to bring back again.
So that contact was contested. Players were unable to reach an agreement, and so we will return to the last uncontested throw. Stephanie Lynch to take the disc center field. Gangrene in their offensive half, a short distance away to widen up that scoreboard.
No violations this time. Very clear in the communication. Dignam's signaling to her teammates and everyone on the field when she's counting the disc in. Well, number 43, Swanson, had the disc there. I think at the point he gained control of it, he may have been out of bounds, resulting in the call there.
Tara O'Connor finding perfect possession. Packer unable to get there, and O'Connor just eating that disc up. Horan sends one through. Reese Hearn back to Horan again. Again, just so close to the end zone. It is difficult not to get panicked. Lynch on the far sideline.
Looks like she's waiting for the right option here. Not much happening. Really clamping down on the defense. Sneaky through pass. That had a bit of Tabasco on there.
And Hearn with a nice, comfortable assist.
There we go. Finding the right option, finding the safe option. Great to see the safe decisions being made. You know, as you mentioned, it wasn't a time when there's really pressure put on that area. You know, you're so close to the end zone, but you know, under pressure, all the players that had the disc in their hands there were cool, calm, collected, and that when that happens, when you can maintain a clear mind in situations like that, it often does. More often than not, results in the points.
So Gangrene up one more, bringing their total to 6 points against MVP's 3. Now MVP, an impressive initial showing, but they look to have slowed down. Maybe that the benefit of training with a team is becoming evident. We will see whether or not the depth of their experience is sufficient to allow them to come up against a team like Gangrene, who do drill and grind and work hard and develop together as a team. Only time will tell.
Only time will tell. They do have a bit of momentum on their side with these last few points. We have MVP here on the sideline really discussing how they can make better connections. You know, it's not a timeout, but the team here on the sideline is the people on the field last year. You know, they're talking through what options were made, how they can make connections better, which, you know, these conversations need to happen. And this tournament for them is going to be a growing experience.
So MVP on the far sideline now. Back to Fraser.
Also interesting to see here, a lot of these players, Sione, Royal, Holdaway, Fraser, they're all known as cutters, or they have been in the past. So right now it's really great to see how dynamic the team is. A lot of them pinching back to fill in that handler space. Also gives them an opportunity to really show the breadth of their skill. The fact that they actually do have the throws, more than have the throws, to be able to competently fill this space and control the field from the handler space as well as cutting downfield.
Packer, Fraser, and Holdaway really establishing the MVP offense at this point, trying to keep that zone moving. Oliver Foster leading the cup, just spreading those big wings, trying to shut everything down. It's difficult as Packer puts a laser show through. Siahani Royal right on the red zone. Holdaway now.
Finds the open player, Fraser with the point there, and a cute little celebration, high fives.
It's exactly as you say. You've got these players with reputations as cutters, being those intense, explosive downfield runners who initiate plays through finding space and getting separation from their defenders. But seeing them evolve into handlers on this team is wonderful. Just being under a huge amount of pressure from that Gangrene mark, but pivoting, shifting the mark, finding those openings, and having the confidence and skill to get the disc through to the receivers for a score that MVP desperately need. Bring it back to a 2-point game against Wellington's Gangrene.
And also, you know what, having that type of dynamic play on the field, having a team that can fill whatever position they need to, you tend to have fewer role players, or if they are role players, you're forcing them to be more utility players. But it can really allow for, a threatening depth on the team when you have really, cutters who are competently filling these handler spaces and then can just, book it downfield and be a threatening cutter whenever they want to and have someone else fill in that space.
Yeah, one of the greatest threats on a Frisbee field is someone where you see them take the line and you're not immediately sure if they're going to occupy a position in that handler space because they've got those long throws and nice quick breaks, or if they're going to take a space as a cutter and just absolutely toast you going up the field. And it makes it really, really difficult to figure out how you're going to mark that player out. And seeing that MVP have players who are trying to occupy that sort of universal role on the field, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Gangrene are able to keep up as the match progresses.
We've got Lynch signaling that she is going to brick the disc. And a 4-person cup putting a lot of pressure on the throw there. We'll see if Gangrene continues to make those pop passes or is able to thread through or over the wall, and the cup there looks a bit more like a wall.
Smith with a low break finds Pooley, brings it across one more to Bagaki with a monster hammer downfield, more territorial than anything else. A wonderful throw to see, particularly when the wind is up, but it has given possession back to MVP, who set up a monster huck. Packer in pursuit. Layout grab to keep it off the turf, but a call was made, a foul.
And just jumping back to that monster hammer that McKevitt laid out, just, throwing everything on the line to save. He did mention before that he broke his ankle 14 weeks ago. So it's especially impressive to see players like that, focused, obviously, I imagine, on recovery, on rehabilitation, and out here really giving it his all to try to save the disc.
Well, I suppose the benefit of laying out for a catch like that is that at least you're not going to land on your ankle.
Yeah, that is a good point. Hopefully you don't injure another part of your body. It looked like a safe bid, and it was a great bid.
So McKevitt on the mark.
Looks like we have another violation, I'm guessing, downfield.
Once again, the players are discussing it. Ultimate is, after all, a self-officiated sport. So players taking it upon themselves to learn the rules and to administer them on the field through discussion with each other.
Blair, did you see what happened there, what the conversation is about right now? Maybe a travel?
It was possibly either a travel or possible contact, which caused Packer to fall a little bit backwards away. Not Packer, sorry, Packer is upfield.
We can see Dignam there. She made that strong strike cut before. She might be looking at running into that space again.
So players returning to their positions.
Or we also saw Packard make that beautiful downfield look. Definitely options for the offensive throw at the moment.
Pressure from Gangrene, not enough.
And quick downfield movement again. Beautiful to see MVP jumping back to what they do best, in my opinion. Moving the disc at stall 0 or stall 1.
Beautiful score there by Dignam from Packer. Again, just sitting in that deep space, looking to open things up, finding the disc in the offensive half in great position to just continue that disc movement downfield. Not looking to score every single point by himself, but giving enough opportunity and just giving space to the rest of the team to eat those ones up. It's 6-5 now, only a 1-point game. Still in favor of Gangrene, but still early days.
That was just a beautiful point there. That was good ultimate frisbee. And sometimes it's points with big layouts or really exciting plays that can really lift up a team or carry them. But you know what? It's also points like that where it's clinical. It's sharp, fast decisions that you're trusting your teammates, and everything is clicking and it's working well. That can also just lift spirits, bring up a team, and result in points and help carry you through the rest of the game, or at least through till half. We'll see.
That's exactly right. In my experience, no one typically comments on good ultimate. If it's good, you don't typically see it. You just go, oh, they scored. And of course they did, because they played perfectly. Yes, there are the big highlight plays that draw the attention, but a capoeira-esque block by Gangrene. Just an attempt at a cartwheel securing the turn. It is one of those things, when ultimate is played clinically, it doesn't have necessarily the same highlight appeal, particularly for non-players who don't have enough experience to know why.
Hold away open on that undercut, but Sutherland's was looking for the glory there, looking for the break side. Sione Royal making that break side look, and unfortunately just had a bit too much sauce on it.
A little bit much dip on the chip, one might say. So now, Masters with the disc.
Looks like they're setting up, I would say, a junk here, marking space. So that's person on the handlers and a zone downfield. We've got Sutherland split deep, opening up those deep options. Gangrene's really taking advantage of that deep space, and we see the Hawk to respond to that.
It's hard to read, fading out the right hand or the far side of the field. Right-hand side for the Gangrene offense.
Once again with the artillery bomb squad. That was a cannon right there, and the wind just decided it had its own say with the disc. It was going to carry it where it wanted to.
Toby Sutherland bringing the disc back in. Those same long throws that we've seen him make, particularly before, which led to a turnover for Gangrene to regain all that territory. We know he's got a lot of length on that arm. He can send it, but he keeps it held back for Holdaway. A nice undercut.
Here's some beautiful movement.
A lot of pressure from the Gangrene defense, but not quite enough. Loses his footing. Has to look elsewhere for Holdaway. Second bid, not enough. It was almost a volleyball block. Masters, a lot of edge, too much edge, not enough float, and so the disc turns, bites into the turf.
Lita making a great deep look for her teammate. They're really looking for a quick turn. She was in position. She had no defense on her, but unfortunately those quick transitions can lead to decisions that don't quite have the focus, the precision, the execution that you need to realize them and make them happen.
Yeah, the way that cut developed, opening up that deep space and the position for the thrower to have that long look were both there, but without that execution, that connection's not going to happen.
Especially in the same third of the field like that.
Having the disc coming over the top of the cutter makes it that much harder for them to find position on it and be able to secure that catch. Typically, you want the disc to come over one or the other shoulder of your cutter as they're coming deep to give them time to react and find position on it. We know what Sutherland's looking for. He's forced to reset instead. Huge pressure from Carter Squires.
Bit of stagnance downfield. But Van Bekel manages to find an opening in the undercut there. And this is another thing, talking to Dingman before the game. She's a captain of MVP. She was mentioning that they really do thrive with the undercuts. MVP does a great job, as we've seen when they do capitalize on those undercuts, when they capitalize on that and that quick movement. That's when they've really shown and done their best. Not quite able to bring it down, a bit too high for Aspinwall.
He certainly got up there, but a little bobble off the hands gives disc back to Gangrene. So a great opportunity. See a Honey Royal on the mark, looking to go back to a person defense, or perhaps that junk, as you mentioned before, a mixture of person defense and zone for the downfield cutters. Smith sends a long one. Sutherland just underneath it. Horan for the score.
For the score.
Wonderful point, widening the gap up just a little, 7-5 in favor of Gangrene. We are 1 point away from half if scored by Gangrene, 3 points if scored by MVP. both teams probably the hungriest we've seen of any team today, particularly considering how close this game is.
You know, this is a treat of a matchup to watch, honestly. Both teams, they're well matched, they're neck and neck, and I think with that competition, we're really seeing some of the best in both come out. And I think at the end of the game, it's going to come down to whoever can, just like with the last game with Mobility Scuba and HMC, who can turn it up that little bit, who can turn up the heat, turn up the intensity, who can dig deep and find that focus, because I think that's going to be the turning point.
Absolutely. What we've seen so far today is the team that is more willing to just take off the shackles, to pop it into overdrive, even if just for a few seconds, committing to a bid and just pouring everything on. They're generating those turns. They're generating that offensive momentum. It's wonderful for us to see as spectators and players. And with a game this close, only 2 points in it, it's still anyone's guess as to which team is going to pour that on first and which team's going to pour it on fastest.
Got Cardi Squires with the pull.
Nice high forehand. Again, Gangrene, we've seen them come down in a zone. It's going to give them a lot of opportunity to get that into position. Having that zone in position is integral to the Gangrene's defense as we've seen so far.
Now you can see Cardi Squires after he put up the pole there, kind of leaning in the opposite direction, trying to pull the disc back into the field. I've definitely been in that situation myself.
It works for bowling, for golf. Why would it not work for Ultimate?
Now the thing with starting at the brick mark, it's normally not ideal. However, when you're setting a zone, it can give you a bit of extra time to set it and make it more challenging to get the disc moving. Now, MVP here is obviously not struggling with that. Some beautiful movement across the whole field here.
Dignam, Packer in the backspace, really driving the offense for the MVP, targeting that far sideline now. Dignam to Packer, those same MVP connections that we're seeing them use to gain so much yard against this Gangrene zone defense.
And this is a space you can see Packard thriving here. You can see Dignam loving this too. You know, the precision, just finding the openings, finding the spaces and unlocking those. This is what the handlers live for. This is the dream space to be. How can I break this zone? Where are the options?
A nice opportunity for MVP to gain. A quick give and go.
And 3 people there. Fraser with the final cleanup. A much needed point for MVP.
Again, Gangrene pressuring it, getting the exact kind of throw they want. A leading pass, a little bit too much wind. The wind picking up the edge of it, curving it out of way. Gangrene thinking, oh, brilliant, we've got this one sewn up. But MVP keeping that focus, managing to go up not once, not twice, 3 times a lady for the score.
Yeah, that was ghost pepper spicy, to be honest. I was at the edge of my seat seeing who was going to clean that up. But yeah, that's also the benefit of having the experienced team. You have the depth. You know that you always need to back up a disc. You know, having the support for your teammates, knowing that if they miss it, the 3 options, as you mentioned, are what sealed the deal.
Bell, the Carolina Reaper Fraser. So MVP to come out on defense, a break, giving them the opportunity to tie the game and maybe take the first half. Gangrene 1 offensive hold away. It's a close game. It's a wonderful game. Teams have been playing hard all day. The conditions are slowly worsening, making it less optimal for this sport. A high backhand with a lot of peel on it. Coming back in, not a roll. Stopped by Horan. Centered and swung back.
Oh, and Siohan Royal just on the mark, athletic, looking to stop all those options.
Lynch targeting that far sideline. Leading pass, Horan takes it.
Now that Gangrene has broken through that cup, they're off to the races. You can see MVP looking to catch up, trying to catch up with the mark, trying to reset the zone, but Gangrene is doing a great job of continuing the movement after they've broken through the structure that's contained
Han,
them.
sorry,
Once again.
Hearn to Horan to Lynch to Pooley.
That was Cardi Squires again with the point. She knew exactly where to be.
That's 3 points now by Carter Squires, number 42 for Gangrene, just finding position completely unmarked by MVP. They need to find an answer, considering that the score is now 8-5 in favor of Gangrene. So that will bring us to the end of the first half. It's been a fantastic game so far, wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, it's been exciting, neck and neck.
Okay, so my name is Blair Monroe.
And I'm Kelsey Bielik.
And we will be back with you shortly for the second half of this clash between MVP and Gangrene on day 1 of the New Zealand Mixed Ultimate Championships Division 1. And we are back for the second half of this. Our match between Gangrene and MVP, minimum viable product. It is currently 8-5 Gangrene, having taken half. The whistle just before, a signal from our timekeepers that the game must go on. Gangrene to come out on offense now by the looks of things.
And it's been a close game thus far, with both teams really bringing it out. An exciting matchup to see. You know, most of the games today have been really epic leads followed by really epic comebacks. But this one, you know, it's great to see a change. Both teams are neck and neck, setting some beautiful zones, and then trying to figure out how to navigate them, how to figure out the puzzle. You know, what is going to unlock it. Seeing MVP really have some beautiful movement to just unlock the cup, break through the wall, while as Gangrene's been having the right players, Cardi squares especially in the end zone, just knowing where to be to secure the disc and score the points. We'll see what's in store for the second half.
Yeah, so we have seen Space Invaders versus Exiles earlier, followed by HMC and Mobility Scuba, and in both of those teams we saw one team take a convincing early lead and then have to contest with a comeback. Here, it's a lot less like a reversal of fortunes and more like a fencing match, just trading backwards and forwards. Masters with a big fake. Sends it anyway. O'Connor buries head, tries to go and get underneath it. Too much from Aspinwall.
Aspinwall's just in there to numb up that defense.
Very, very high disc.
The wind is coming in, but safe in the hands of Dignam.
A lovely read in the wind despite the pressure put on by Pooley. Big forehand.
Ooh, bit of a laser. Pooley there to just numb it up again.
Just decides, hey, I missed the last one, but I will not miss this one. Gangrene taking possession.
Coming out hungry the second half.
The second huck, we're seeing the big ones. A nice catch by Ben Swanson in the zone.
Great put by Lynch. You know, Lynch is one of those players where she sees options and she's not afraid to throw because she knows she has the throws to connect. And that's something that's always, it's exciting to see her play because she's so safe with the disc. And when she does make those options that you think, oh, it's a bit spicy, that's a bit of zest. She knows she has the touch and she has the experience and the finesse with her throws to make them connect. She's a great player in that sense. As case in point, the point scored right there.
Gangrene going up 9-5. Those back-to-back big hucks from the Gangrene offense sending a clear message to MVP. We are done playing around. We are ready to close out this game because we have set our sights on greater heights. Gangrene to come out on defense. Bogacki with the disc. Also, MVP needing an answer.
Needing an answer. What an exciting point there with those big throws, those big hucks, the bombs coming out. Really a transition from the last half. I mean, there were definitely big throws coming out there too, but what a way to start. I think that's Bogacki with the disc there, ready for the pull.
Sending a high forehand. A lot of loft on it, but a very controlled disc. Fading out the far sideline, Packer giving the signal that it will be bricked, brought back to the center. Gangrene, plenty of time to set up again what looks like a 1-4-2 zone. One player taking the mark, 4 players in a wall behind, and then potentially 2 sitting in the deep space, trying to force a frustrated MVP O-line to send one big that those deep players can just eat up. We've got Fraser, the Reaper, on the near sideline now.
Great. See, the winds, when you're throwing downwind like that, a high release backhand can be such a good option. Ooh, a little bobble there.
Gangrene with an opportunity. Bogacki looking to be the man of the minute, picking up the disc to quarterback the offense and bring a score 10-6 potentially. But an intercept from MVP. Huge air to swap. A reversal of fortunes.
Swinging to Fraser and hold away.
Give and goes.
Oh, she was right there.
A lot of contact made. It looks like Swanson may have had position, but the contact is still there. An injury has been called.
It looked like Holdaway was in the air when Swanson came in to get that defensive play. I'm not sure if that was entirely avoidable, nonetheless always, undesirable, always difficult and not ideal to see a player go down like that, especially in a team with a small roster and especially with a player as impactful as Holdaway.
And it's good members from both teams helping Holdaway off the field. A disappointed look on her face, but nice to see both teams exhibiting that same spirit, the care for each other, recognizing even as opponents that they are worthy of each other's respect.
Lita definitely helping out there, and also a quick shout out to her for finishing vet school last week. That's something that the entire team, apparently Gangrene, has been celebrating, and an exciting moment for her.
Well, finishing vet school undoubtedly gives her experience in minor surgery. We will see if she is able to help Gangrene sew this game up. Swanson again from Carter Squires. Finds Bagaki, far sideline. The crowd want to see the hammer. It doesn't go off. Smith's got it.
Strong no-around defense on the mark here, which opens up that inside out, that inside backhand. Really stopping the swings. But does open up. That's a second inside out downfield. Couldn't quite hold on to it. And looking downfield for a quick transition.
Bagaki tries to get the grab mid-burpee. It doesn't come off. Packer sends one big, long to Aspinwall. Unmarked. Comfortable running it through. Beautiful. Absolutely wonderful score. That is the
back half is a celebratory throw.
That is textbook long game ultimate. Just a great thrower in power position. A cut already developing. Aspinwall open. Too much separation for Gangrene to get involved at all. The score now going 9-7. Still a 2-point game. Still in favor of Gangrene, but far from over.
Those deep looks, that was textbook ultimate, and it's also, the feeling when you either throw or catch either end of the disc. I feel like that's what tells you if you're a handler or cutter. If you see that and you love throwing deep, or you see that and you love running and just catching it, that is the feeling. That's like the quintessential ultimate Frisbee feeling in my mind. That's one of the reasons ultimate Frisbee is so fun, is just, becoming a dog for a moment, chasing a disc down, or being able to launch it into space like that. Yeah, really, really joyous moment internally.
There is something absolutely fantastic about throwing your first huck that I think just really sticks with you, and it's the reason why so many players in the ultimate community, they find the sport and they just do not leave it. Sutherland with a huge pull. Big whoops from MVP, the most vocal players. Hearn looking to catch, decides to let it go. It finds the ground. MVP in a great defensive position. A deep cut opening up from Masters. A little bit much fade on the disc. He pulls it down.
With that height advantage, he manages to just tip it to himself.
Big forehand, but a little bit much peel.
A little bit of peel on that. Also checking in with Holdaway for those interested. It looks like an ankle sprain. She does have her ankle taped up, so fortunately it's not too serious.
I do not think that this will be the last we see of Holdaway in this tournament by any stretch.
We've got Weimer starting off. He's got the disc starting off the play in the corner there, with Gangrene already setting up a mean cup to break.
So once again, it looks like we are seeing that sort of 1-4-2 zone. So we've got Masters again taking that deep space, the height, the throws, the speed, covering half the field by himself. It's not enough to deter the MVP from wanting to send one long. They keep Toby Sutherland with the disc. We know he likes to just send it.
And beautiful, this wins. The cup is really not deterring the MVP offensive handlers at all. They're just slicing it through the wind, upwind, downwind, to make those beautiful swings. Impressive to see. And Gossi manages to hold on to the disc there. Quick dishy back. These handlers are really, really working it well.
Sutherland once again really driving the offense here, getting almost every second touch on the disc. A little overthrown.
And while Fraser's known for her speed, wasn't quite spicy enough to get the boost to get that disc there with through just a bit too far.
Now, the ideal throws have a huge amount of spin on them, what we'd call touch. It allows them to sort of float in the air a little towards the end of their path and really give an opportunity for the receiver to run onto them. A little more touch on that might have seen Fraser score another goal or potentially an assist. But it's a Gangrene opportunity now. Masters, we've got a big cut from Foster opening up deep, turning into an under. Masters is trying to hit that, finds O'Connor instead. Big winds up.
And O'Connor, a really exciting player to be coming out of the Wellington scene. She's relatively new. Big hut coming up. Cleaned up by the MVP defense. As I was saying, O'Connor, she's really been exploding as a player. Her athleticism, her throws, her experience. She's really been coming into her own, and I think is definitely a player to watch in this game as well as in the future in the New Zealand space.
Pooley unable to pull that one down under double coverage. So MVP to take possession. For the first time since the last time, a field ahead of them full of some of the more dangerous spatial threats that we've seen. This unique Gangrene zone. Masters in the deep space discouraging those long throws. Foster on the chase, a little bit out of position. Siahani Royal manages to work up towards Fraser. A big huck, it's a low, gets a hand to it, but it finds grass instead.
Right.
A very, very low throw, those ankle biters, as you call them.
A laser, yeah. A bit difficult to clean up when it's quite at that level and it's coming at your hands so fast. It's hard to really get a good grip on it.
Lynch to Horan.
You know what, as long as you keep finding those open players, though, next time I reckon that would be a catch. Masters again with a big throw and a safe D by Rainey.
Just the hang time he got on that jump. He took off, held for a second, and made sure he was in position to get the disc. Possession returns to MVP. We're seeing some nice undercuts develop. As you said, MVP known and prioritizing those undercuts, and then using that to establish the give-and-go momentum.
We see a bit of frustration there in the handler space with Weimer saying, come on, guys, like, come through, push through, you know, get the truck, get on the racehorse. We need to be pushing through the space here. So it looks like MVP's caught up with the handlers and has pushed through a few more downfield options now.
Fraser shifting that zone, opening them up, swinging back towards the other sideline. We've got Rainey now. Sutherland, Fraser, the Reaper, near sideline in the red zone. Sends one big.
Ooh!
A great defensive bid by Masters on defense. Tip from the pros. Always go early.
Right.
It catches the MVP receiver, Goss, out of position. Too late to react.
Honestly, one of those situations where I would say that's a mental D right there. You know, you got into the offense's minds. You know, while you weren't able to potentially make a play on the disc, you made the bid and you sold it to them so that they ended up misreading it.
And that's smart defense, really, that we like to see. Gangrene hoping to capitalize on it, sending one through, but Toby Sutherland intercepts, returns back. Shots fired. Weimer on the far sideline. Gangrene having to make the switch back to defense, re-establishing that cup. Goes over the top. Foster nearly gets a hand to it. Not enough.
Hop into the end zone.
Fraser.
And high fives
getting a
all
cheeky
around.
high five in there. It looked to be Blake Rainey, number 40, for MVP for that score. 9-8, I believe. A 1-point game.
And it was also interesting to see Fraser again as she cleaned up the disc before she was there, also ready to potentially clean up if that was a drop, to clean that up and ensure that it's a point for her team as well.
And see, we mentioned that before, that idea of just having a support player, particularly on those speculator throws, just someone who's got the read on the disc from a distance and can find the second place it's going to go if a defender doesn't manage to get to it. It's the kind of thing you want to watch back in slow motion. The throw goes up, a little bit of speculation. But if that first receiver isn't there for it, just knowing that someone else is thinking, All right, all I need to do is be 3 or 4 meters behind them, and I can score this point for a team instead. So Gangrene on offense now. MVP managing to keep themselves in it. Only 1 point separates these two titans, Gangrene and MVP.
We see Gangrene on the line there, just waiting to get started. Like, come on, guys, can we get going? It looks like it's a bit chilly. It's definitely the wind's picking up. Players are working to stay warm.
A high pull, but there's wind enough to push it. It's floating. It's falling back into the defensive half of MVP. Much shorter road to a point for Gangrene based on this pull. Bogaki's got one. Has to holster it. Manages to pop one forwards.
And we've got that zone with looks like an assassin.
Sends the hammer off the hands of McKevitt. Just a beautiful option. Great positioning by the receiver. Just a little slow on the catch, giving MVP an opportunity. That would have been a great point to score from.
We've got Packer picking up on offense. Seeing a great initiation cut from Dignam.
Great pressure from Carter Squires, but not enough. Sends one through. Aspinwall goes,
Ryan's
takes it.
off to the races there, but yeah, looks like some of the guys also jumped in on the action.
Call was retracted. Bogaki again taking the disc, far sideline.
Looks like he was contemplating a deep huck for a minute there, holstering it.
I mean, I would like to see it.
Oh, and was that a stall out?
Certainly looks like. So it's important to recognize players in position of the disc can't just hold on to it forever. The player placing the mark on them begins saying the word stalling and then counts to 10. Once they've uttered the first sound, the T of 10, that's a signal that the thrower has held onto the disc for too long without changing possession, and so it constitutes a turnover. We're going to see Packer take the disc very dangerously close to their offensive end zone.
And
Dignam sends a low one. 2 Bears, 1 from each team, not enough. The disc finds grass.
great to see some ankle-breaking cuts by Aspinwall there. You could tell he was the first primary dump and really looking to get it looked off, but definitely keeping his mark engaged, which is really important in the end zone to avoid a poach D. That is, when your defender decides you're not a threat and goes to play defense somewhere else. We've got Carter Squires looking in the deep space here again, waiting for the frisbee to come her way.
McKevitt to leader, but it's a little bit much. That same wonderful pair, Bogaki and Packer, starting it off. We got Van Bakel with the disc center field. Peels one around to Aspinwall. Don't know how he pulled that one. Dignam, there's a lot of float on it. A potential excellent defense by Gangrene.
Lynch is patrolling the skies, brings that one down.
A big shot.
Lynch to Lynch, and Packard cleans it up.
Eaten by Packer, but oh. Dignam targeting that far sideline. A great opportunity. Van Bakel takes it. Packer sends a low flat one.
He takes out the cone. Unfortunately, no points for that in the game of Ultimate Frisbee.
So Gangrene once again with an opportunity. 9-8.
Teams neck and neck, both bringing the intensity, still keeping the foot on that gas pedal. Packer looking for a sneaky deep backwards D there.
McKevitt trying to evolve a deep cut.
And he bit on the open side there, which opened up Bogacki, opened up the option for a break huck. Now the wind pushed that back onto the open side, but looks like it turned into a bit too much of a laser for McCavitt to bring down.
Disc showing just that little bit of edge, and in this wind, the edge of the disc represents chaos. When the wind can catch it, it can do pretty much whatever it wants, and so just control over those throws is really what's going to dictate the victors in a match like this. So closely contested, so intensely fought between these two teams, just putting everything they've got into every single point.
This has been a slightly longer point, and I think as we say the 8th defender on the field here, the wind definitely has played a role in that. Oh, great cut by Van Bankel. Can't hold on to that there. But again, a long point. It's great to see both teams. They're not succumbing to the tiring, the fatigue that can come out of a really long point like this. And it can be frustrating when you're making those connections. It's hard to mentally bring yourself out of it, to connect with your teammates when the wind is going, when you're grinding point after point, possession after possession, really. So it's a matter of who can grind the longest here.
Aspinall with a nice undercut, marked by McKevitt, manages to get the disc loose anyway.
There we go, some nice movement coming out of this.
And as you mentioned before, that particularly when we saw HMC face off against Mobility Scuba, is that fatigue does play into it, and it's not just in terms of your ability to run, it's in terms of your ability to read the disc, to focus, to make good catches. And so it's nice to see that even though we've had a couple of instances where both teams have made those executional errors in terms of catching, Bogacki with a beautiful just defensive stretch, almost like a cat on a hot day just stretching out to knock that disc over. We're not seeing those teams give in to that. We're still seeing them focus and keep grinding.
Packers really just dominating that, not only the handling space, but also the defensive space here. Really carrying his team, propping them up, and there's a lot of other players out there really working as well and really responsible for bringing their team along, supporting their teammates. Packard really having a massive impact there, though. Looks like there was a bit of contact on that jump.
Bogacki got a fingertip to that disc, tipped the back edge, which caused it to bobble right up. A lot of players managed to get underneath it, but it looks like there was a call about potential contact. Bogacki's involvement may or may not have contributed to that call being made. The sort of hunger, particularly when you've got a game as close as this, it can be easy to lose focus of the fact that it's a non-contact sport. You've got to respect other players' space.
That said, we are seeing some smiles on the field, some laughter, so all signs point to a positive, constructive conversation. Right.
So
it's a veteran move right there.
So it looks like the foul was uncontested. So Dignam takes possession, uses that to, as you pointed out, it's a very, very long point so far. So we are going to see a timeout called.
And I'm curious to see what they're going to look to do here. So there's a few
probably
options.
rehydrate.
Rehydration is good. A few more things they could do. Looking at what could be a pull play. So a pull play normally happens off the pull at the beginning of a point, but also great to pull out of the back pocket in situations like this when you have time to reset, time to talk about a play. Who do you want to isolate? Who do you want to look too deep? Who do you want to score the point? So it basically offers a time to sort that out and run through that, and can result in a very quick, easy point. That said, on defense, it can provide a really creative way to shut it down or throw something different. So right now, the running person defense, but Gangrene coming out on defense after this could potentially throw on his zone to change things up, potentially switch the force to the other side of the field, which could really mess with a set plan like a set play.
Yeah, so seeing static discs as we're going to off a timeout, it really can be different to a strict in-game, in-motion turnover where all of a sudden you've got 2 or 3 players out of position. You can quickly pick up the disc and get it moving and really work the offense while the defense is out of position. After a timeout is called, the disc comes in static. As you say, it is a great opportunity to call an organized or set play. You know where the disc is on the field. you can really take the time to plan out what the structure of the offense is going to look like coming out of that. Could be isolation cutters, it could be trick plays even potentially.
Potentially.
But the flip side of that is that defense also knows where the disc is. They know how close it is to the sideline. They know who's going to pick it up. They've got a lot more information to set a structured defense as opposed to relying on defensive reactivity, which is typically what happens off a rapid turnover.
Now, both teams here have really brought the intensity to their cheers, indicating to us, everyone on the sideline, that they're bringing that intensity to the game. And as I mentioned, it looks like Gangrene is indeed coming out with a zone, and it also it appears that MVP has a side stack set up, indicative of a potential pull play. Now, when this happens, when the defense is different than you expected, a good thing to do is run the play anyway, because oftentimes, even though the defense is different, it can still work. As we see right there, I'm not sure if that was the game plan, but it was a beautiful huck to an open Ryan. Couldn't quite capitalize and finish on that, though.
Carter Squires targeting that near sideline, finding Bogacki. Now it's MVP who are out of position. A big windup, but he holsters it. Finds Lynch. Carter Squires again. Just clinical disc movement. Carter Squires to Lynch. Big huck from Lynch.
Lynch looking deep
with
to
a read.
Bogacki. Oh!
Sniped out of nowhere by Smith. A beautiful run through, finding position, recognizing that Smith is unmarked. Oh, not Smith, sorry, McKivitt. Completely unmarked. And that Bogacki had coverage, just saying, don't worry about it, buddy. You take a break. You've done enough. I'll finish this one off.
Finish this one off. Great communication there, too. Great teamwork. And recognition to come through, see that disc may be for someone else. But again, providing the cleanup. In that case, he was in position to catch it. There was no cleanup. He was just in the position to take the point. Or he's just going for the stats.
Really, really wonderful to see. Just body on the line, just a full meaty catch.
You see him massaging his shoulder over there. Hope everything's all right. Yeah, it's definitely not the ankle, but he's had a few layouts today. He's not afraid to put his body on the line. Giving the spectators what they want to see in a good, close game like this.
Yeah, the score now 10-8. 2 points in it as Gangrene are about to come back out on defense. MVP on offense. We're seeing the ready signal from Toby Sutherland.
Turning around, it looks like the wind may be blowing some rain in. Hopefully we can clean up this game before it really sets in. It might make for some even more challenging conditions. As we mentioned, though, these New Zealand players are probably accustomed to it at this point.
Just very excellent clinical frisbee, just seeing the disc moving back and forth across the field.
And this is the great movement I like to see out of MVP. When they get it moving, when they've got those connections happening, it really is a treat to watch.
Too much edge on the forehand. Siahani Royal laying out or perhaps stumbling into one, but it's not enough to secure possession. Gangrene a long field ahead of them.
Lita with a disc. Ooh, bit too much zest for Pooley to hold on to.
Yeah, just that same issue that we've seen today, particularly in the wind. Those trailing throws or not leading enough can cause instant turnovers, a massive swing in favor.
Beautiful pop pass there.
Dignam to Goss. Weimer signaling for something. Move through, give me some option.
Fraser open there. He's set on the...
It's a high shot. Horan wants a bite. Gets one. But a foul has been called.
Uncontested. Horan was in position there, but it did look like... Oh, that was on the throw.
So the contact on the throw, we return to that point.
Now, when the stall is high, it is important to focus on the dump. While there could be open options downfield, it is important to trust the reset and know that sometimes it can take an extra second for the reset to get open. So it was great to stick with the reset there, even though there were a few options downfield. Although sometimes, you know, double checking downfield can result in a completion. Great transition to offense now.
Weimar gets one up. Dignam, high release, high angle forehand.
Oh, bit too much for Sutherland to come down with. Great bid there, though.
A bit of a speculator there.
I think the wind, in a easier conditions, I think that definitely would have been a completion, but definitely the wind pushed the lip of that just a little bit farther than she wanted it to go.
Again, as the conditions worsen, it demands perfect ultimate. The weather will not accept anything less. Any slight execution errors instantly punished, particularly when you have teams of equal ability just pushing each other as hard as they can. A big huck. We're seeing that same high edge. Weimar intercepts, immediately turns the offense back around, regains half of the yardage lost by that huck from Gangrene. Siahani Royal, center field.
She's got that great step out for that backhand.
A little bit extra momentum, just a little lift to finish it off for MVP to bring the score back within one.
Nice cleanup. You know, I have seen here, though, it appears when MVP gets it on the scoreline like that, they have struggled a few times to capitalize, to transition, to just make that extra step, that one little pass to get it over the line, turn it into the points. And that is something that a lot of teams struggle with, and also is a key focus in many trainings. Oftentimes, even in scrimmages, when you're not focusing on it, one thing that many teams do in trainings is that after you score the point, you bring it back out and you practice your end zone. You run the end zone. So I'm seeing this here. They're struggling to transition, just to make that extra step, make that extra cut into the point, and it's because the end zone, it looks like it's not quite set up. And if they were to focus on that, it could definitely benefit them and help them generate the points instead of the turnover right on the end zone line, which is heartbreaking and happens too often.
A 1 point game now. 10-9 in favor of Gangrene to come out on offense. We're seeing some of those old hands. We're seeing Foster, Swanson, Horan, Smith.
We've got strong sideline, and when sideline has energy, has voice, it really does help bring the team up as well, helps lift spirits, lift energy. And we see Celine Damon's big mark right there.
But we're seeing O'Connor again, one of those great initiation players for the Gangrene line, who just has explosive first cuts, gets great separation, and can also make really great continuation throws. So it's really lovely to see her get involved. Again on the far sideline now with a nice under, looked off, manages to recover.
Always a threat like that when you're marking a player that you know can run deep on you, but is also such a threat under, because they can also throw deep on you.
Swanson will be celebrating tonight with a beautiful footblock, just swinging those long legs in the path of the thrower. No contest at all. Another disc check. Again, a foot like Swanson's taking disc can put a nasty bend in it, but it seems to be fine. Horan shifts the mark, gets a big forehand off.
Okay,
Swanson just beyond it. A beautiful opportunity for a bookend.
Couldn't quite see it in. Not at the bookshelf at the moment. We've got a vertical stack set up on offense. The team is prepared. Initiation cut from the middle of the stack, and Aspinwall's going deep.
Weimar.
And they're capitalizing the break side, really punishing a mark that's not honest. Moving it to the high side of the field, getting the defense downfield out of position.
Siahani Royal. To Weimar. Big flat hook.
Laser, can he get there?
A beautiful bid. You could hear it from here.
That
Less of a slide, more of a Crash Bandicoot belly flop.
You can't ask more out of that though. As a receiver, you can't ask more of your receiver than, he really put it all out there. Packer just left everything on the line there, and if that's not going to seal the deal and bring the disc in, there's not a lot that will. Nonetheless, a great look.
The corollary is that if a receiver has to leave their feet, then it wasn't the best throw.
That is a good point.
So Lynch, center field, gets one over the top. Wynn pushes it down.
And the Hacker going for a empty-handed fake there. And seals the deal with a point.
Great score by Weimer. Off a fantastic throw to the front of the zone by Packer. It is 10 all tied up.
All tied up. Gangrene calling for the timeout, revisiting the strategy. I think teams are starting to feel the fatigue. It is only the first day and these teams have been training. They're here for the weekends and they've been working towards that. That said, the end of the day is a tough time for almost everybody. You've used your legs, you've been working against the first few teams, and especially now it's starting to get cold, so keeping the muscles warm, bringing the focus back in, and revisiting what you can do to how to carry that energy through, how to dominate, and transition that into points on the scoreboard is really what both teams are going to look at doing.
Yeah, watching the temperature drop, as you say, just makes it that much harder. Blood vessels start to constrict and cramps start to set in, and it really is. It's a balance between pushing a body that is already approaching its limits for the day, and trying to balance that against the recognition that you still have 2 days of tournament left to play.
You do, and on top of that, a game to finish up here. So both teams at 10 points. It's a game to 15, so we're closing in on the end of it. And ultimately, no pun intended, the team that can capitalize, the team that can close, give that extra energy now is the team that's going to walk away with the win.
We're already seeing some of the MVP line in their huddle taking a cheeky opportunity to use a foam roller. So clearly they're recognizing that the temperature is changing. It is having an effect on the health of the bodies that they're putting out on the line. MVP first to break the huddle.
The powerful cheer. Gangrene up next.
Still able to force some vocalization from what are undoubtedly tired lungs. MVP having tied up the game, coming out on defense now. Gangrene, some offensive old hands. We're seeing Bogacki, we're seeing Swanson, Lynch.
And Bogacki, when asked earlier about COVID and how he was, working, training through, mentions that it has been a bit of a struggle, especially with, a family, 3 kids. So props to that, working through that. He also mentioned he's been relying on his natural ability, which we've definitely seen out here. And he mentioned cheekily also he's been relying on his good looks, which helps in Frisbee. I do have to say his ability is definitely shown on the field, though. Helping carry his team through the last bit here. Great catch by Lynch.
One hand, one bounce. Bogacki takes disc center field. Marked out by Sutherland. Manages to get a reset off to Horan.
Looks like potentially force middle. Both dump marks are really pinching into that space, leaving the swings wide open. Hooley, the fast closing speed, but can't quite hold on to it there.
And now Dignam, center field. Great opportunity for MVP to break the game open in the other direction. Sutherland, we know he's got those throws. He holsters it, tries something a little bit lighter. Comes off the hands of the receiver.
They say always try to catch with 2 hands if you can, and it looked like she was just closing in with the 1 there.
Pooley. Huck with a lot of edge, not enough to keep it. Swanson, again, we've said multiple times how important it is to have that support, how to have someone ready to put body on the line to keep the disc up. And he was there, but just a little too late. MVP, big backhand.
That is a floaty disc.
And it favors offense, so Packer taking it at the same time as two Gangrene players. In the event of simultaneous catching from offense and defense, the offense is favored.
Looks like they're having a bit of a conversation about it. Also good to suss out which outcome you'd like to take.
As to whether or not it was a simultaneous catch or if defense had control of the disc before Packer got involved.
One thing I'm pleased about with that play, though, while there is a bit of conversation around who had it first, that it was quite floaty, and another word for those floaty high throws is hospital throws. And with the temperature dropping, we're talking about muscles cramping, it's great to see all the players who were involved in that jump, you know, going for it.
And keeping it clean.
Cleanly, yeah, exactly that, so that all of them are having a conversation now instead of hobbling off the field. Great to see that the game has remained clean like that and players are healthy.
Now, statistics don't typically play into a game of Ultimate, but Gangrene did technically have a 66.7% share of that disc when it came down.
Please adjust that number for favoring offense.
So as the conversation concludes, we're hearing a hooter in the background signifying the soft cap. If that is the case, that results in the conclusion of this point. Toby Sutherland out of position, Gangrene to take offense. So again, still 10 all. The conclusion of this point, we add one to the highest score.
Oh, what a look.
Bagaki! Oh, Swanson second bid throws the disc.
Yeah.
Contact is called.
That was close.
A strip has been called, and in the end zone, a strip constitutes a score. In this case, Gangrene go up to 11. The soft cap having been called means we add one to that score. It is now a race to 12.
And as I was saying before, you know, jumping in after halftime, jumping in after those timeouts, right now, it's a measure of willpower. Which team wants this more? When you're seeing neck and neck matched up with a score like this, the team that wants it more, that's going to, you know, bring that extra energy is the team that's going to walk away with the win.
Absolutely. We're seeing a signal from the sideline and the two outstretched arms indicating that 4 women, 3 men should be taking the field for what could very well be the last jewel in Gangrene's crown for today. MVP, on the other hand, still potentially 2 points away from a win. A hold and a break necessary to see things swing in the other direction. And again, that's fantastic spirit by MVP to come to the conclusion that that was a strip, even though that does favor Gangrene, particularly knowing that the hooter has gone a game this close, particularly in pool play, which determines where you might end up in a bracket, whether you end up in the top 8 or not.
Right.
To have kept in mind the integrity of the game and respect for other players in favor of making a call that might benefit your team is the finest thing about the sport of Ultimate.
And a great display of spirit, absolutely.
So Sutherland centers to Weimer. They're still in their own end zone. It's an opportunity here defensively for Gangrene.
We're seeing cuts slicing across the field. Everyone's giving options. Great to see that downfield movement. There's nothing better you like to see as a handler than options coming your way.
Oh.
Bit of a misfire there. Looks like they're continuing with the play.
So possibly no call was made, but an incomplete pass leads to a turnover. Gangrene, Lynch takes the disc. Stall count is getting very, very high from the immense pressure poured on by MVP's defense. Smith takes it.
And again, we're seeing really saggy defense on the handlers there, almost providing a copper, a wall of cover, forcing the swing throws. And the mark there is also working at stopping the swings. It's quite a strong no-around mark.
Carter Squires on the far sideline. Back to Pooley. We've got ladies back doing the handling for Gangrene, sending one deep.
And that
fading out the far side of the field.
Out of bounds.
but not the worst place for Gangrene to have turned the disc over. We know that they're going to be coming down, occupying a lot of space with their zone defense. They can possibly pin MVP in that far corner, secure a relatively quick turnover, and score to win the game.
So right now, Weimer with the disc is looking at, ideally in this situation, making a quick swing pass to the middle of the field. Or there we go, cleaning it out and trusting Dignam's safe hands.
To see a Honey Royal in the red zone now. Gangrene defense out of position. Dignam with the disc. Great opportunity for MVP to thread one through.
And
But
there was
a
a
pick was called. So again, interference with the defender's pursuit of their opposing player.
We'll see. So if it was called on Packard, looks like the disc is going back regardless. It was indeed. Makes sense as to why he was so open. It's easier to be open when your defensive player runs into someone else.
One more time, Dignam center field.
So we're hearing talking from the sideline.
Oh, see a Honey Royal with a nice read. Defensive
Can't
pressure
be
from Carter
said.
Squires despite two MVP offenders.
Right. That's got to be a heartbreaking turnover there. So MVP's really going to have to set the pressure here because this offensive possession could be it to take the game for Gangrene.
We know Gangrene have the long throws, even in the wind. We know they've got receivers with the legs. We see Swanson at the back of their vertical stack. We know what kind of a threat he is.
And we know that Lynch also has the guns to huck it deep to him.
A beautiful undercut to get separation from Sutherland, who just leaves him knowing that the throw's not going to come through. Huge run through D by Packer.
Great pressure there. That was exciting. We've got Sutherland picking up the disc.
Packer, such a threat this close to the end zone.
Packer.
Dignam again, threading one through. A beautiful score by Weimer.
All right, this is taking the game
We
to
have ourselves a
universe
game.
points. It's been really exciting in that point, especially throughout the game, watching Dignam and Packer work together. Their give and go movements just sync up so well with each other. Their game styles and their play styles connecting.
We can see nails being bitten on both sidelines. As each team now, in order to secure a win, needs to send out their very best. MVP, with an opportunity for a break, need to send out the best defensive players they've got to guarantee their chances of a victory. Gangrene have to make the choice. Do they send out their best offensive team and hope for a hold, or send out their best defensive team just in case they have to play defense on this point after an MVP break?
Right, and you bring up an important point there that Gangrene is coming out on offense, which puts them at a slight advantage in scoring the point. They don't have to work to generate that turnover and then work to score the point. They're coming out on offense, and they just need to work the disc out down the field and, catch the biscuit in the basket in the end zone. Easier said than done, of course. Otherwise, the game of Ultimate Frisbee would be a bit more easily played. But what MVP is looking at here is they've got to send out a strong defensive line, generate that turnover, and then grind extra deep to get that last point.
It's unsurprising that a timeout was called after that point. This is the last point of the game. The soft cap went. We know it is a race to 12. This is the point where it all hangs in the balance. It all comes down one side or the other. And so taking those 75 seconds to just have a breath, make sure everybody knows what they want to do, check who wants the point. As you've said, it's the team that wants it the most that is going to dig deepest and really come down with the victory for their team. And so part of that discussion almost undoubtedly is who's actually feeling up for it.
Who's feeling up for it? Yeah, you have to recognize those players, and those are the players you need to put on the field. And sometimes it's not always the top players on the team, it's the players who are feeling that fire, the fire in their belly to get out there and own the field. Now, while Universe games that come to Universe Point are really exciting to watch, it also is heartbreaking to look on this field and know that one of these teams that has worked so hard throughout this entire game will be coming out. It'll be decided as a winner and a loser. That we have an entire tournament ahead of us. But it's a really exciting time, but having been on both sides, I can say as an Ultimate Frisbee player, It's exciting, but can also be a bit of a letdown.
A beautiful lefty pull from MVP as they come out on defense. Aspinwall. We've got Masters, that offensive juggernaut for Gangrene, finding Swanson. He gets busy, gets open. Masters has the position marked by Weimer. Has to go for something short instead.
Looks like Tobin is hanging out, Packer's hanging out downfield there. He was anticipating a deep look and hoping to help out on defense. Now he's playing a bit more honest person defense. Beautiful crossfield movements by the women here.
And this is one of those things we've seen both teams send up quite a few maybe questionable passes, lower percentage options, but here that isn't an option. Every turnover could lose a team the game. The defensive pressure is on from MVP. We see Carter Squires getting a high backhand.
Ooh.
O'Connor getting a hand to it. It bobbles out as it's going down towards grass. She tries for a second attempt. It's not enough. We see Packer recentering the disc. Forehand.
Into Fraser's safe hands.
Very, very long slowdown. And as we can see, the disc has returned.
And we are seeing a bit of tension here. Travel called and Fraser, responding, where do you want me to be? It was also interesting to see Fraser making eyes with Sione Royale there downfield and Sione Royale saying, no, do not throw it. I'm moving on the field, but I'm not in a position to catch it deep.
So again, a lot of discussion. So that travel call, when a player receives the disc, it's their responsibility to slow down as quickly as possible. By the looks of things, and certainly the impression that Lynch gave, was that Fraser took a little bit maybe extra liberty with some of those steps. And so having that discussion, the disc has moved back a little bit to where Lynch believes Fraser should have been.
And along with that, the rest of the players on the field need to move to where they were when Fraser initially caught the disc.
We're seeing Packer shift that mark. Fraser, the Reaper, gets one up to Dignam, sending a big shot high. Weimer's looking for it! Not in. Overthrows the receiver. Gangrene, another opportunity to bring it back.
That has got to hurt.
And that is one of the perils. We talked earlier that MVP, with a lot of their experience, they tend to not have that tunnel vision, that end zone fever. But when you hit Universe Point, all of that goes out the window. The only thing is scoring the last point. A huck goes up from Gangrene. Carter Squires in position. Packer with a bid.
Climbing up the staircase there.
Takes to the skies.
We've got a jet fighter shooting down that disc on defense. And he's picking it up.
A nice attack up the far sideline. Marked by O'Connor.
Oh, a bit of miscommunication there.
Again, overthrown. The tension's starting to set in. We're seeing these unforced errors come up. Both teams know that every mistake is an opportunity for the opposition to win. And a lot of the time, putting that pressure on yourself and that awareness is what leads to these errors happening. A big huck goes up. Swanson in position.
Really bringing it down for what is an exciting win for Gangrene.
Just fantastic play by Gangrene. Masters sending up the big shot to the big man. A nice closing point as Annalise Pooley finishes the game on Universe in favor of Gangrene. Well done to both of these teams, but unfortunately, to the victor, Gangrene go the spoils. My name is Blair Monroe.
And my name is Kelsey Bielik.
And that brings us to the end of Game 4, Day 1 of the New Zealand Mixed Ultimate Championships. The clash in Kirikiriroa in what is becoming slightly less beautiful Hamilton, New Zealand. Hopefully, we will be back with you tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Take care.